Well, the world has sure gone nutty, buddy, even downright cruddy, buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Welcome back, buddies, to everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Joining me today is my new buddy, Mr. Drew Whiting. How you doing today, Drew?
Good. Thanks for having me, Nick.
Of course. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you for everything that you've been doing recently for the Erie Downtown Development Corporation. Our buddies are quite familiar with it. We've had a lot of mutual buddies on the show, and they've all done a fantastic job. So now I'm interested in learning about you.
Great. Let's do it.
Alrighty. So first up, you're the new executive director of the EDDC. How did you inquire about this opportunity?
Moved to Erie about 2 years ago and was interested in what was going on in town and trying to find ways where I could get involved. One of the things that stuck out right away was what the EDDC was doing here. Before I even moved downtown, I started to read the news. Before we moved to Erie, I started to read the news, and a couple names kept popping up. Matt Wachter's name was one of them, and I sent him a cold email and started to ask questions about what they were doing and learning about how the Erie is going through this renaissance. There was actually a lot happening here, which was something I was not aware of, and started getting excited about getting involved and looking for opportunities to contribute. Once I hit the ground, it wasn't too long after that. Matt had taken another job at Carnegie Mellon, and a few months later, John announced that he was leaving the position. So I reached out and started to ask, what's coming next year? There's going to be new leadership at some point. If wondering who you're looking for, what skill set you're looking for, and started to just get a better understanding for where the organization was going. When the job application went live, I applied, and it went through a pretty long interview process to get to where I'm sitting today.
Awesome. What was the feeling like when everything was over, when you got the news officially that you are the new executive director?
I've always been, as an attorney for a decade plus, operated on my own terms and very much under the radar. So I've never had the public eye on me for anything. And not only is this position in the public eye, but a lot of the future of the city. And I think the way that people perceive this role is that it has a large impact on where things will go in town here for the coming years. So while I was extremely excited, and this was an opportunity that I think is a great fit for me and the skill set that I've developed over the years, there's also a lot of pressure. I think in the weeks leading up to the potential that I could end up in this role, and then the time where I knew I had an offer letter and was gearing up to step into the job full time, I think I had a deer in the headlights look. It was, what did I just get myself into? There's a lot to chew here, and I hope I didn't bite off too much. I think you always come back to the mission, the vision, and the why behind even thinking about applying for a job like this and trying to fill the shoes of the people that came before me. It keeps you going, and it reminds you of why it reminds you of the purpose. And that's been what I continually fall back on when I get to those points. I'm like, what am I doing here? But yeah, I think understanding the mission, the goal, and my role within that, and just trying to make sure that I'm staying grounded and constantly being reminded of what we're doing here is it's an ongoing psychological battle that I'm playing with myself.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned earlier that you moved to Erie recently. What brought you to Erie?
What brought me to Erie is what brings a lot of people to Erie. I met an Erie girl in Chicago, and we got married and had kids. Pandemic hit, and we were looking to make a move back towards family. My entire family's in Buffalo, and my wife's family's all here in Erie. And making that decision to me was a fairly easy one. I've loved it here since I've been visiting, starting 10 years ago or so. It's the biggest small town I've ever been in. It's got great, really underrated, undersold amenities in and around the lake. And it's just a really nice community of people who are tight knit. And it's not like I watch my in-laws for years, and they're groups of friends they've known for 40 years. And there's a ton of them. They're all nice to each other. They all, speak well of each other. Everybody helps each other out when there's a need for it. And I'm somebody that derives a lot of my own energy from community and that feeling of camaraderie. And I've always felt that here. And so the opportunity to move back towards family and be part of this community is something that was always appealing to me.
Love it. Love it. So when it comes to the EDDC, what's your vision? Like what are your hopes and dreams?
I think that where we are is a great start, and the work that was done to get us to this point is just unfathomable to me. My number one goal is to not fumble the baton. I want to honor the efforts of those that came before me, and make sure that the projects that are currently underway, that are about to be launched, that we have built, are handled, managed to the optimal extent we can, and have the maximum impact that they can in the community as it sits today. I also think there's a lot of work that we still have left to do. Erie's a city that really only started its recovery effort about 10 years ago. And you could even say it's probably 5 or 6 years ago that, in earnest, things actually started to happen. So we're early. I mean, and this is not a quick turnaround type of thing in any city. And it's going to be a generation of people that are pushing in the same direction to get things done and continually make progress bit by bit. That will ultimately bring us to what I think is going to be a point where Erie is one of the most dynamic, exciting places that you could live in a mid to small size city in the United States. We have no reason that we can't get there. The EDDC's role in that to date has been to create this critical mass of development to show others that this can be done. What it also does is it starts the ball rolling to create density of new revitalized areas within our core. When you do that, you have an economic impact that increases our tax base. You also make it more viable for others to do the same kind of work on their own without, the deep pockets of a billionaire or a Fortune 500 company. So as we continue to build density downtown, quality housing, mixed income housing, nice amenities for those living here, we are also going to have the ability to see others ride in our wake and take advantage of similar opportunities. We will continue to build. We have projects that we're working on getting launched right now. And I think as we move ahead, we're going to find more opportunities as well. The big one, I think, in empowering others to do the work that we are doing right now is to potentially become a financing arm for private developers who want to make a difference themselves. Right now, it's not economically feasible to make a deal work for a bunch of reasons. The way the city with the current state of the city, at least as you get away from some of the density that's been created over the last couple of years. We think we can fill some of the gaps to make that more feasible for others, and so that we can scale development faster. As the core gets strengthened, there's going to be a radiation out from there, and that's going to mean housing. We have a really low supply of quality housing stock in Erie, and we also have concentrations like most major cities due to historical redlining, et cetera, that concentrate income status in certain areas, and we end up with concentrated poverty and crime in certain areas, and high tax nice areas on the other side of the city. And what a strong core does is it brings those two populations together, allows them to benefit from one another in various ways. And generally people live happier lives, and the community flourishes when that happens. Those are all going to be natural consequences of continued development and facilitation of other work by others. So I think in the short to medium term, we're going to continue to build a critical mass of entertainment, making our core the center of entertainment for the region, and to provide quality housing for residents of the area that want to live in a city. And that could be young people, that could be empty nesters, could be, that's generally what we're seeing. And as the core becomes enriched, I think the rest will naturally follow.
Wonderful. And some of those new projects you mentioned that are coming up, you have a cigar lounge opening up, and you have a Rockwell gym coming up. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So the first in that order is the Ascend Climbing Gym. Ascend is a Pittsburgh-based rock climbing gym that has 3 locations, Erie being its 4th. There is currently membership registrations are open at ascendclimbing.com/Erie. The gym is one of those things. It's an entertainment destination. It's a thing to do, to bring your kids to pick up a new hobby. It's a reason to come downtown. And we're really excited for that one to open. It November 6th is the official opening date. The Brig, which is our cigar lounge and cocktail bar, will be open probably within a week or two after that. We're working through some final licensing hurdles that we need to get over post-construction, and space is looking really nice right now. We are excited. The Brig will be selling memberships as well, but anybody can walk in. We'll have a pretty swanky speakeasy style cocktail lounge that you can rent out that has for parties, events, and then a walk-in humidor and some some proprietary cigar blends will be for sale, and they'll be doing events and pop-ups all the time in there. It's going to be another really cool destination for business community and those who want a place to stop for a drink before going out to dinner or a show, or those who just want to have cigars for the business purposes or leisure. I think it's going to be a really cool spot to have in our downtown.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, you and me have a lot of mutual buddies with the EDDC. There's everyone from Elder to Ryan to Mark. How much do your buddies at the EDDC mean to you personally?
Like I told you at the very beginning here, it was pretty overwhelming to step into this job back in late July. But the one thing that was true from day one was that I walked into a team that is really, really solid, full of not just people who are good at their jobs, but good people too. The group that we have here, everybody's involved in the community, far beyond what they're doing just in their occupation here. Whether it's not-for-profits, different musical groups, creative arts, it's just amazing to see the talent, the dedication and the community oriented nature of the team that I just walked into. I view my job as basically being somebody that can come in and empower them to unleash their skill sets, their creativity, and do the job to the best of their ability and to get out of the way. So it's that part has been incredible. We really do have a good team, and I'm lucky to have them, but our entire community is. I think, most people know Ryan and Corey and Mark because they're at the food hall and they're downtown and they're in the park during events. But in the background, we've got really solid people as well, Paula and Sue, and we got Pat on the ground just making things happen day to day to make sure that our facilities are working properly, are clean, are safe, so that those who are utilizing our properties have the ability to enjoy it. So it's an incredible group. And the staff that works for our team on the property management side does a phenomenal job as well. So it's just nice it's a privilege to be able to work with these people.
Mm-hmm. One question that just popped to my mind. Can you tell me about what your experience was like on day one when you officially had the job, when everything was official and you walked onto the site? What was going through, tell us about what was going through your head? What was the feeling like?
Well, I think, John Persinger is this larger than life person that made a huge difference here in Erie. Nobody's going to replace John. And I'm also a very different person from John from personality standpoint. And I was nervous. I'm not as buttoned up and polished, and I think I'm a little rougher around the edges is I guess the way that I look at myself in comparison, and so to me it was am I the right guy for this? How am I going to be received by the team and the community as I step into this role? And right away I'm in front of a camera with Tim DeCastro, with 50 members of the community and the press, putting cameras and microphones in my face. And that is something I've never done in my life. So a little bit of shell shock, a little bit of insecurity, but I think what I've become more comfortable with is that if I continue to do the things that I believe are necessary, if I'm following my principles and always remembering why I'm here, why I decided that I would to step into the ring in the first place, that I don't have that much to worry about. I just need to be myself and to continue to work hard and make sure that we keep that vision. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty helpful to have the support of a phenomenal team whose trust every day I'm working to earn and maintain, and the outpouring of encouragement from community members from all corners, people I've known, people I've never met in my life. There's, everybody tells you not to read the comments, but it's impossible. I've had people remark that it was shocking that most of the feedback, the reaction to this, to my assuming this role is positive. I think part of it is I'm at the benefit of being relatively unknown and new to town. But that the encouragement and the positivity was really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Another question I have for you is what do you love most about your job? The one reason that wakes you up in the morning going, I get to go to work today, rather than, another day at the office.
There's a few things. I think number one is I have twins that are about to turn 5, and say goodbye to them in the morning, and I know that I'm going out to contribute to the continued rebuilding of a city that ultimately they're going to inherit at some point, and so will everybody else's kids that are in the same way. And I have an ability to have an impact in that process, which is extremely cool. I also come from being an attorney for 12 years, pushing paper for other people that have been building things. And now I'm in a position where I have the ability to build, and not only build, but build with the support of the community, the support of our stakeholders, and with the phenomenal team that we have. I mean, there are certainly hard days. There are problems that need to be solved. There's hard decisions that need to be made. But on balance, that's every job, that's every position of leadership. And if you're gonna be in that role, it might as well be in one that has both meaning and impact, the potential for impact, and fits with every fiber of my being in terms of what I want to do and the impact that I want to be able to have on this community for my kids and for others. It doesn't take a lot to get me going in the morning when that's what you're looking forward to going into work.
Love it. So you're also part of the EDDC is also the food hall. So you've obviously been around the food hall. You've gotten a little taste of everything. If you could describe like your perfect meal day there to someone who's never been there before, what would you tell them?
I mean, I love taking my kids to the food hall and going with other people and watching everybody be able to pick out exactly what they want. I'm a fan of Dina's. I really like Noodle Love. I think the pizza that we put out at Perry's is some of the best in the city. And we've got other really, like we just had a whole entire crew there from the chamber yesterday that had bagels with cream cheese and loved every bite. I think there's not a bad option there. We are we're lucky to have that asset downtown and that amenity for others. To me, it's showing up on a Tuesday night for karaoke or a Wednesday night for live music. My kids can eat whatever they want. We can listen to live music, hang out, see other friends from around town that have shown up for the same thing. And like that to me is the ideal visit to the food hall. It's being there for the events and enjoying time with family and friends.
Love it. You and me will have to get lunch sometime.
Yeah, whenever you want.
Sounds good. So, buddy, I've got 2 more questions for you to make this an official Buddycast, to put my official stamp on this episode. The first one is brought to us by my buddy Jonas Kane, who runs this wonderful thing called #Positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
I think it's to acknowledge that every friendship is a two-way street, to be checking in on people to make sure they're doing okay, and to be willing to be that person that is will pick up the phone for good and bad news, and to be there for somebody even if they're not asking for you to solve their problems.
Love it. You're absolutely right. Buddies are there 2 and 2. It's not just a one-way deal. It's not just a, hey, I'm in it for me. You're my friend because you're supportive of me. It's how can I help you today? Just like you're doing with the EDDC. How can we help you today?
Yep.
The final question I have for you today, sir, is what we call the ultimate Buddycast buddy question, which is for anyone who looks to do something like what you're doing on a daily basis, looks to be a leader one day of a tremendous organization. What is your advice to them?
My advice is just get involved. If you want to be impactful in the community, you have to be engaged in the community. Whether that's reaching out to local not-for-profits and volunteering, showing up at chamber, young Erie professionals, radius, you name it, happy hours or coffee meetups. It's putting yourself out there, stepping out of your comfort zone, and everybody has something to offer. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have any particular skill set. it's the willingness to dedicate time towards the benefit of others in the community. And that starts with just taking one step to put yourself out there. And I think if you start to do that, the serendipity in the universe will bring you to good places and allow you to have an impact.
Perfect. I absolutely love that answer. Well, sir, thank you for being a buddy on Buddycast. You're not a guest on Buddycast. You're a buddy. So please know you're an official buddy.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Of course. And you're welcome back anytime. Anytime you have any news you want to break, anytime you just want to chat about what's going on downtown, you know where to find us.
All right. Sounds good. We'll do.
And before we end this episode, I have 2 favors to ask. Number 1, stick around a minute. We'll chat for a minute afterwards. But Number 2, whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, even next year, please promise me you're going to go out and you're going to go be someone's buddy.
Absolutely.
For all my buddies out there, this is my buddy Drew Whiting. Please check him out at the Erie Downtown Development Corporation. They're doing wonderful things down there. I've got a lot of great buddies down there. It's really an amazing place. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Thank you for joining us on another episode of everybody's favorite show.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. But don't feel none, it can make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.